Roll call. Al?
Here.
Alyssa?
Here.
Barry here. And our liaison, Tom, is here. So
I'm here too.
Thank you, Tom.
Pledge of Allegiance.
Pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
All right.
Okay, approval of the agenda. So I'd entertain a motion to approve the agenda as presented.
Second?
No.
Sorry.
You want to make the motion?
I make the motion to.
Okay, so Al makes the motion. Is there support?
And I'm sorry, it's been a while. Moved? Is that what I say?
He moved.
He moved.
You support.
Okay, we need to talk about what all this means at some point.
Either support or second.
Okay.
So we have a motion and support to approve the agenda as presented. Is there any discussion, additions, or corrections?
No.
Hearing none, all in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed? Motion carried.
Is there a space where we can talk about what we found since the
That's
previous?
under reboot PEG.
Okay,
Is
great.
the general heading we've been using for that.
Okay.
So tonight we have two sets of minutes, both from the January meeting, which were not available last month, and then the February meeting, which you both have copies of. So I'd entertain a motion to approve both of those minutes.
I motion to approve both the minutes.
Okay, Al made the motion. Is there support? And we have support. Is there any additions, corrections, or changes, discussion on those minutes now that we have a motion?
Not that I see.
Our minutes are generally very concise and to the point, so not much there. So hearing none, all in favor of the motion signify by saying aye.
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 Any opposed? Motion carried. Public comment. We have no public in attendance tonight.
No emails.
Correspondence. So I do have something, but I'll talk about it under Charter Spectrum since it's related to that topic under old business. Under Director's Report, I don't really have anything special to comment on. So I won't update you or bore you with anything there. Then moving on to old business. So Charter Spectrum status. So today this afternoon I got an email from Spectrum that told me that I should expect the proposal for this wiring and installation of the fiber line necessary to get back on air this week. So once I get that, I'll share that with the rest of the commission and then we can approve at our next meeting. So I think that's good news. Now, getting a proposal,
Sounds ominous.
assuming it's reasonable, then needs to get approved and then needs to basically get construction done. So it's still months away, but it's somewhat encouraging that there is movement.
Will the approval be amongst us, or will you have to go to the city for that?
We should be able to approve it since we have funds for that.
Okay.
The only issue would be is if it was outside of
Yeah.
our funding, then we would have to go elsewhere. But if it's outside our funding, we may have a different conversation at that point. So that's the update there, which then takes us to our ongoing topic of our future. So we had a work session last week. Unfortunately, the video of that did not make it. So we don't have the true record of that. But we each took some notes, and we were going to come back here tonight and discuss some things. So I think that's kind of open to the floor. Who
Okay.
wants to start?
We can pull up I don't think I control this from here, right? This is just a
Correct.
monitor.
Yeah, yeah.
So I'll have to
you
move
have to
over
go
there.
over there.
I'll just go to the briefing that we used last month, or last week. And go through the items. I can find it. All right. And we last left it. Nope. 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 Oh, right here. Okay. Do you want to just go through this list like this, or how would you like to do it?
Oh, that's fine. Yep. I think
Okay.
That's good.
So,
Barry, video repository and how that's integrated.
So I actually spent my time not really doing that because I've done that in the past.
Sure.
I spent my time actually on calendar platforms. I've got like 5 or 6 different ones pulled up here.
Okay.
So I'm just going to talk about them. So one is called Timely, time.ly is its website. It really talks about doing the types of things that we're looking at, targets, chambers of commerce, and kind of community type calendars, along with a lot of other industries in its functionality. Another one called Localist, Who-Fi, Event Calendar app,
Saw that one.
Local Hop, Monday.com.
Saw that one.
So there's a variety of these kind of different platforms out there. And, you know, without really diving in deep, installing them, getting accounts where there is, you know, such a thing, or talking to sales reps who want to sell me when we're not even at that point yet. I haven't dug deep other than just kind of reading some of the information around them. I think it was Timely that had a series of videos that really kind of talked about deployments in scenarios similar to what we're looking at. So I'll share those around with people. But as I was going through this, I was thinking that I think a next step here, well, a potential and hopefully more than potential partner of ours in this arena is the Tourism Authority. I sit on that board. I've had some brief conversations with the executive director, Sammy, about us wanting to work together with them. And I think a good next step here would be to really reach out to them, get a meeting together with myself, Sammy, and then probably Brandon Jensen, who is the marketing strategic planning firm behind the Tourism Authority and kind of does a lot of the implementations. That organization is in the midst of basically planning a new website and all new functionality around that. So the timing of all of this works well for them because they're going to have to figure out what their calendar platform going forward on their new website is. So I'm thinking that my next step will be to work with them and really understand their needs, because they currently do essentially this. The platform they use doesn't support it, but
Right.
they're collecting events. Obviously, they're a subset of all the things we're looking at, but they actually live it, approve, edit, and understanding what their needs are, I think will be good input into how to evaluate different platforms.
Do they do it all in-house, or do they buy a app or something?
They use Google Calendar, but all of the work is done by staff to basically, respond to email, respond to phone calls, then enter the information, and so they do it mostly manually today because they don't have a platform that does it. They've talked for years about getting something better, and I think again with their efforts to basically build a new website, a new platform to operate on, and ours, I think now is a good time to bring us together. So that's my thought and next steps on that piece. But I think there's a variety of things out there that can accommodate broadly what we're trying to do. It may not align feature for feature with what we want, but unless we're
Close enough.
building it ourselves,
Right.
it's never going to align 100%. You're going to have to make trade-offs of, well, this is the way they do it, type thing.
Mm-hmm.
So that's my research and thoughts on that. And on the video platform piece, again, I've already deployed a repository and I've actually migrated over kind of the vast majority of the historic videos. Actually,
So you have all of the files like on a separate, not on
Correct.
YouTube, somewhere else.
so yeah, if you, since you've got the browser,
Mm-hmm.
if you could go to video.dogmantech.com.
Video dot.
Dogmantech.com, that's right.
Ooh, Barracuda.
Yeah, that's the software the city uses.
Oh,
You
okay.
probably just can't get there. It's being blocked.
So, for some reason, it's being blocked. So, it's just, so, I can show you here, so I mean.
So that's everything.
It
Or
doesn't,
like
it
a
doesn't
lot,
have the
enough.
last 4 months or so of
Oh,
stuff,
okay.
but it's got all the historic stuff. There's like 1,000 videos here. And it's basically an open source YouTube clone. So it has kind of all of the functionality of YouTube. So as a repository, it does all the things you need to host video.
And does it like generate a URL if you wanted to into that?
Yep.
So it's potential like to hold it, to make that the repository and then in the calendar, link it.
Right.
I can do that.
Yeah, so
Just get
this
up recording.
is city council meeting, so yeah, I mean, everything's got a URL and, it's got commenting functionality and, again, it's a YouTube clone, so it's called PureTube. So, again, I've implemented that as an example. It's got as an open source platform, it's got good APIs, so you can integrate it with other things more easily than you can some of the commercial platforms. And because it's not tied to any large corporate interest, it gives us a little bit more protection and functionality, or
Right.
because we're hosting it as opposed to relying on someone else at their whim to maintain it and not kick us off.
And what is the platform itself called?
PeerTube.
Pure, P-R-U-E?
P-E-R-T-U-B-E.
P-E-R, per
Peer,
tube,
P-E-R-T-U-B-E.
per tube.
Peer.
P-E-E.
P-E-E-R. Sorry, I've got a bit of a cold this week, so
Oh,
a little bit hoarse.
PeerTube, okay.
Nice. So you don't have to link into YouTube's,
Correct.
where people then get advertising, because there's no advertising there,
Right.
I'm guessing.
It has a feature where it's supposed to be able to essentially sync with YouTube.
Mm-hmm.
So, which is how I got all this content there, is I just synced the two sites. YouTube has now started blocking them
Yeah,
because YouTube doesn't want
Because then you
people
can-
to
right.
suck their data out into alternative
Are you able to
platforms.
download there?
Yes.
Yeah, that's a big thing, like, I can see why YouTube would block that, because that's what premium accounts are for.
Right, right.
So you'd create the calendar would have a URL to past meetings, with a URL to it to go watch the video on PeerTube potentially.
Right.
Okay, that's good.
And how would I find the videos on PeerTube? Is it peertube.tv?
Well, again, it's video.dogmantech.com
Okay,
is where
sorry.
I am hosting that software.
Okay,
PeerTube is just the software
okay.
that is open source and various people can deploy.
When do you think the tourism board,
Tourism Authority is their current name.
okay,
Yes.
would be, could you set that up?
I could probably set that up in the next week or so.
Yeah.
So, and I wanted to describe that is my thought of next steps, kind of get your blessing to go down that path and arrange that.
Given the idea is to ingest their information eventually anyways, right? Like,
Yep, yeah,
so it makes sense to me, because they would be a content creator on the calendar.
and they might also be willing to help if we're
Right.
purchasing a platform, they might be willing to help fund it
Yeah.
because it also serves potentially their goals.
Yeah. And it'd be, yeah, and just with the, like, how do you feel about, like, the long-term vision, right, of all these other organizations potentially populating the calendar? How do you feel about that on your calendar? When someone puts,
Well, and I think that's a functionality question of how do things on the calendar get, I'll use the word tagged,
right,
so that they can pull just the subset that are appropriate for them to display to their audience, which is visitors to the region. It is unlikely that city council meetings will ever show up on visitmanistee.com. But, all the, I forget, it was something brass that just happened. That is certainly something that would. So, there's,
what was that? I'm not following, I'm sorry.
what you saw at the Ramsdale the other night.
Great Lakes.
Great Lakes Brass.
Oh, yeah, right.
All I can remember was brass. I
Right,
couldn't
right,
remember the rest of the
Ramsdale.
name.
So, like, just the idea, like, I like the idea, dude. I love, like, the idea of partnering with somebody, especially that has a vested interest in keeping something maintained and operational and on the internet, right?
Yep.
Like, if it breaks, they'll know immediately,
Right.
because they're there all the time. So that's a great thing. But just the idea of if they put limits on what can be posted on there, right? Like if it's,
Yep.
if,
Well, and again, it's understanding how you can have a repository that has this much content
right,
where specific users of that data only care about a subset. How does that whole workflow work?
Right.
So that works. And working with somebody that has that need, I think, forces us to address those issues in the early phases of this.
now, I'll just give you an example, right? Like, if an organization wants to eventually, right, this
Yep.
is third generation. If an organization wants to post something and it's off color,
Right.
but still within the parameters of the calendar,
Mhm.
but not to the liking of a
Yep.
partner.
Yep,
Like, just understanding like that they may be
Right.
confronted with that.
right. And I think, but, yes, those are all
Right.
real-world scenarios to think through as to how would that work. Um, And in general, at a minimum, we've talked about this before, there probably needs to be an approval process
Right.
for all content, so
Right.
it's not just spam or inappropriate. But taking that to the next step does, again, I'll use the term tag. That's kind of an implementation detail, and who knows how it could be implemented. But let's say the tourism authority had a tourism authority tag that is applied to the content they care about. To apply that tag, do they need to review it? So it already got reviewed as being okay,
Right,
but now, we decide, oh, we think this should, this is appropriate for the tourism authority, so we add that tag to that event. Do they have to approve that application?
Yeah.
And again, to deal with some of the things, they may want to, or they, may not.
right.
But again, until we start discussing these types of scenarios with real users, we're just guessing
Yeah,
how it would work.
right. I can give some good examples of things that would be appropriate, but may not be appropriate to
Right.
a tourism authority or
Yeah.
a city,
Right.
but certainly for the general public might be. Okay, I like that.
So those are the things that I have to talk about tonight.
Because the video integration really is just gonna be a URL hyperlink to like that, the repository. And then eventually, if you wanted to make the meetings sortable, past meetings, for example, you could make them sortable and then it would still, everything would have a URL tag to that.
I mean, that is likely to be the way it will happen.
Right,
I'm open to, as we go down this, of, oh, that's a way of doing it that I hadn't thought of.
Yeah.
But that's kind of how I think of it now is, you've got a repository that's got video content, all of those, can be embedded in a video player on any website. And somehow on our website, we've basically got, I'll call it a page for an event that, may link to that video or embed that video player from that content. And potentially, as we talked about at the work session, AI-generated summary of that meeting, both textual and potentially video. And that's something
yeah.
you may talk about in a bit. So,
Okay, so next step, a meeting.
yes.
Sounds good? Alyssa, do you want me to, is it on, did you put the
It
URLs
is,
on here?
it should be on calendar examples, there should be an attachment there. And it was on the side just a second ago.
Calendar whiz?
No, it was on the side,
It was like a
margin.
comment
Oh.
that
And
was
now it's
added
not.
to that page.
This one?
No,
No.
it was the one that you had before, but somehow it's
This
missing.
one?
There it is.
Oh, okay, here.
Yeah.
Gotcha, all right. And you were looking at functional and visually, like a nice design?
I have to admit, I got a little enamored with the first one that I found. But I did do
It's funny, I
some
went to,
more.
I went to San Jose. I was like,
Oh, yeah?
Silicon Valley has to have some great people on there,
Yeah.
volunteers.
I used to live in Oakland. I have some connections there. So if you scroll down, you'll see, and this is even more apparent on the phone, you have these big, bright pictures that you were talking
Yeah.
about, Barry. If you stop here, Al, for a second, these are 6 major categories that people tend to go to. So you can click on that, go to that. You can also, if you scroll down a little further, you'll see each, each event has a brilliant photo, an image
Mm-hmm.
that's attached to large texts and basic information. I feel like this doesn't take somebody's, you know, it doesn't skew somebody's attention. Does that make sense?
It doesn't what?
It doesn't skew the attention. When I was looking
Right.
at the, one of the ones that you brought up, Al, it was the New York City event calendar.
Yeah.
There's so much text
Yeah,
and
yeah,
so
no,
many
you're right.
different,
No, this is much more appealing.
yeah. Also, on the left side, in the margin here, you can see that you can, if you're looking by date, you can click on that. You can also look at categories.
Mm-hmm.
The other thing that I really like about this, if you scroll up, sorry, I'm going through this pretty quickly. Come back down, middle page, a little bit down further, right there. See how it shows a map function on the top? It says grid, list, and map.
Mm-hmm.
It will show where it's located.
Yeah, it's cool.
Also, if you have it on your phone, it will ask you if it can use your location, which means if you're walking around downtown and you've already signed into it, it might even have a function where it will show you, hey, there's something happening within the next 30 minutes or the next 3 days in your general area. So I thought that was
I like that.
pretty interesting. Also, if you're going to like a city council meeting, at one time, you might notice, hey, there's an event down at TJ's
Afterwards.
afterwards. Yeah.
Give you a reason to go.
So, like I said, particularly enamored by this.
What I like about this is it's crisp, clean.
Yeah.
Fun.
And
Sorry, interrupting things. Sorry, go ahead.
now, it also points out challenges because how do you, I mean, if you, yeah, let's keep scrolling. So these are, I'll say, kind of more premier type events where someone's likely creating a image
Right.
for that
You have
event.
to have a graphic.
A lot of the content that I envision we will have is just very much mom and pop stuff that there won't be anything. And would this look as good if
Sure, if it's a
that
if it's a
was either
PowerPoint
missing
slide.
or you were forced to put something there that wasn't of high quality.
Right.
So, thinking through that, the mapping, that is interesting, and some of the platforms I looked at have all of this functionality. But where do you get those coordinates to plug that in? Person submitting the event is like, well, I can tell you where it is, but I have no idea how to get coordinates for that. so you
Right
can
click
plug
on a
it
Google
into-
map. Yeah.
So,
We know how to do that, but that
Right.
doesn't necessarily translate to everybody. It just, some of those challenges which can then lead to lots of work for the approvers of things, like, okay,
Where is it at? Yeah.
here's all the information coming in, now I've got to fill in all of these things to make it look nice, which
so
could be effort, could be not much effort. So I'm just thinking through.
Sure.
possible issues.
Yep.
There is a link, it says submit an event, it's a little higher up, and it's pretty concise. I think there's very clear instructions to whoever is submitting the event. I can also imagine a student intern going out and, helping somebody who doesn't have the technical know-how on how to do these sorts of things. But there we go. And then there's a form where I think you can add in location and images.
Now, you know what, like I do like about something like that requires every event to have an image. for example, like a city council meeting, if they know what the agenda is in advance, like the topics to be discussed, like brownfields development approval of whatever, like putting those things on like a simple part. These are the items to be discussed tonight. Might bring in some foot traffic.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah, this form, you can see there's ones that are absolutely essential. Okay, got it. I was also noticing that
Free.
this site was made by a company called Simple View.
Okay.
I haven't reached out to them, but
I know very well who Simple View
Oh, you do?
is. The Tourism Authority currently uses their software.
Oh, great.
It's a very expensive platform,
Oh, okay.
but it is tailored to basically DMOs, which are Tourism Authority type things.
Okay.
So,
If they're already using it, is it possible that that could be something that would be integrated?
they don't have a license to all of the functionality because it's very expensive,
Okay,
on the order of probably $100,000 a year.
okay,
So, which would be well beyond any of our budgets. But again, that all of the functionality you've talked about, I have seen this in other platforms too. So part of it is the functionality, and then how you skin it to make it look nice. You know, you can generally do that to any platform. Because I know of Simple View websites that don't look good. So you can use a platform and make it look good or make it not look good, depending on how you run things.
I put, I'll just go to these two real quick. There's not much to talk about, but I just, this is ugly, but has the functionality, right? Of able to, lots of sorting, colors, but it's ugly. Nothing against Juno, okay, guys? But it's not, it's, and then this one was another one that I liked. It was simple. Oh, see, I went to San Jose Events. And maybe this is that same company. See who makes this one.
Go down any further, huh?
No. But I mean, it's a kind of similar,
Yeah.
but
it's-
searchable and pretty.
It is.
And then this one is a radio station or TV station. That's, I mean, this is, got some advertising on the right, which is good. Submit your event, calendar. Not very sortable, but it's,
But it's simple.
yeah, it's simple and it's not visually unattractive.
And I think what is ultimately going to be one of the more important pieces of functionality is that filtering and sorting.
Yeah, for sure.
Because if we're successful, there should be 100 things on every day, because there are that many things happening in our community. That is overwhelming.
Yeah, that would be,
How do you manage data overload to get to the subset that might interest you easily and quickly, and then most likely if you come back to the site that it remembers your preferences, so you don't have to do all of that filtering every time you go. So those are, I think, some of the more interesting challenges.
Yeah,
haven't seen much on these pages are simple analysis of what it is. Like, for example, the fireside lecture, the fish that saw the 20th century in exploration. Okay, so is this child appropriate? Is this something for, you know, is it a more, I feel like could be an easier way to just know if that's something, like an upbeat, child-friendly.
right. Something sortable that indicates.
Or like a serious discussion with a educated professional. That sort of highlight.
And that's why I keep using the term tag
Uh-huh.
as opposed to category. Generally, category is you have to choose one of these as your category. Whereas a tag is, it can have 20 different tags, and those just help you find. So yeah, this is child appropriate, this is, you know, all of these characteristics apply, these are all tags associated with it, which then, you know, the whole point of tagging systems is it helps you find things, because it's a way of categorizing in
Right.
multiple different ways the same information.
This looks relatively inexpensive to create too, right? Something like this.
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah, okay. So the next step on the GUI is a meeting that you're gonna have.
Well, I mean, I think looking at functionality, but then looking at user interface, and I think the things that you've pointed out, especially given some of the sites, those are tourism-related sites. Those are going to be the things that the tourism authority is going to be, you know, utmost in their priority from a user interface perspective. So yes, I guess that will come out of it, but I don't necessarily, again, that's not my forte, is making things look good. So therefore, I don't want to say that that's in my
Right.
court, because, you know, even though I'm hopefully talking to people who do have the skills on that as we go through this process, I still want everyone else involved in that.
They are currently this one, right? Manistee.
Yep. And again, that platform is 12 years old, I think. So it's not at all what anyone wants it to be as it relates to. So go to events. I guess that's where you are. So it's basically an embedded Google Calendar, much like the site you were just on, I think.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
There's nowhere to categorize it.
Right. But again, they don't really need to as much, because they're only showing the things that are appropriate for who their audience is. They've already filtered it out. But some of those additional things, like, you know, child-friendly, pet-friendly could be another example.
Sure.
All of those things, you know, aren't here. And things that they're looking at how to accomplish.
The world's shortest St. Patrick's Day parade, isn't it?
I think so.
Isn't that what it is? I've never been. I'm always gone. Okay. So like for like a UX thing, finding some happy ideas of happy mediums between
Well,
visually appealing and cost.
yes, But I think there's one step up from this is the calendar piece. This is future events.
Right.
All of our videos are past events. So
Mhm. How do you go back?
how do we do both in our website? What is that
Yeah,
interface? Is it just
like a right-hand
Click-
wheel thing saying, find past
click
meetings.
here for future, click here for past?
Yeah.
Or is it somehow all together and you just include as a search criteria, I'm looking at city council meetings that occurred in the past as opposed to those that are scheduled for the future?
Right, I mean, I think,
You know, you could do it all in one, but that's not necessarily the right, people don't think of calendars as looking up information that happened in the past.
yeah,
Is it possible, I don't know, I'm very much just asking a blatant question here. Is it possible that it doesn't matter? Like, if somebody wants to look at an archive of the DDA and they also pull up things that will be coming, wouldn't that be to our advantage?
Potentially.
To not,
Yeah.
itemize things out so much? I don't know, just,
And the image becomes the thumbnail from the video, so that it's just, you know. I guess one thing, as I'm just thinking about that, if I'm looking for videos, I'm thinking in that scenario more of search. So I'm entering search criteria and getting results, which is kind of what calendar is. Your search criteria just happens to be categories and maybe tags and date ranges, and you get results. But in a calendar, generally, it's always presented chronologically, whereas other search results are presented
okay,
relevance, I think
Right.
is the term. So the most relevant is first, and you know, as it gets less relevant, it's so. Does one interface work for both of those? Again, don't know. I'm just, thinking through this really in some ways for the first time.
I think we talked about before, just trying to create it and see what kind of
Yep.
blocks we come up
What
with.
I guess I am thinking there is, if we're asking our calendar platform to be flexible enough to arbitrarily search based on keywords across all of the entries, and that includes historic as well as future, that may be a set of functionality that might be hard to find.
Okay.
Or we could be adding that on top of.
right. Like, find past meetings, find past city meetings, click here.
Right.
And then it's a more easily sortable page
Right.
somewhere else,
Right.
which already exists, right, on the
Yes.
city
Yep.
page.
Yep. We're not here to solve all these
No,
problems
no, no.
tonight.
No, no, no.
But just so we're sharing kind of our thought processes and the types of things that we need to be thinking about.
All right, so before we, you want to see a video?
Sure.
Public hearings. Public hearing on the Downtown Development Authority Development and Tax Increment Financing Plan Amendment. The Manistee Downtown Development Authority, DDA, approved an amendment to their Development and Tax Increment Financing Plan during their November 13th, 2024 regular meeting. The plan amendment adds a section outlining a new TIF gap financing tool that this allows the DDA to help finance housing-related development costs for projects in the DDA district. The plan amendment will be considered later in tonight's meeting. At this time, the public has an opportunity to comment on the Downtown Development Authority Development and Tax Increment Financing Plan Amendment. Is there any public comment on this? Anybody? Okay. Citizens' comments on agenda-related items. Nobody? Okay. Consent agenda. All items marked with an asterisk are considered by the city manager to be
So-
routine matters. Prior to approval, any member of
Good point.
council may have an item removed.
So I put the 2-hour video you gave me
Yep.
into Filmora, which is a editing tool, and I just let it run. And it took about 4 hours, and it came up with 9 videos, created like 2 different ways to post it, like context, like this vertical way or horizontal way.
Right.
And it did pick out some, like the Coast Guard City thing was on there, like the guy was just talking about how to get a Coast Guard City designation, and then somebody came up and talked about like crime statistics or something. So it produced 9 videos out of 2 hours, but it wasn't, you know, I don't think it's gonna go viral on TikTok. Right, but I don't think a city council meeting would, I mean, like,
Right.
I don't know if there's some kind of, if it like eventually learns, like if you did it yourself the first time of what you're looking for and actually put it in there and it created some kind of learning thing in there that would pick up on it, but
I guess in my thought process here is if you've got a 2-hour video that you really know nothing about what's inside that box,
yeah,
what you're looking for is, I'll use the word summary, you're looking for information about what's inside that 2-hour box. Hopefully that is clickable so that you can go to things that might interest you, because no one has 2 hours of time to sit through, to watch a whole meeting and then find out there was nothing there that interested them.
all right. You just gave me an idea, yeah.
Unless they're a department head who's required to be here, or certain people in the public are at every meeting, but often people come because they know a certain topic is on the
Sure.
agenda. And likewise, after the meeting, knowing that a certain topic was on the agenda, oh, here's the agenda, click on this action item, here's the entry point into the video where that agenda item occurred.
So, yeah, you,
'Cause an agenda is kind of a
right.
summary of a meeting, although sometimes what happens can deviate sometimes from the agenda, or,
let me look at that, because I think, like, there's the video, and then the AI tool creates an outline that you can, like, then, even without the agenda, not having the agenda,
Yeah.
but it creates an outline, and Teams does do that, Microsoft Teams, and then now with Copilot, it creates, like, the text, and you can click on where things were.
Mhm.
That would mean, like, putting a meeting on Teams versus the YouTubes, right? But you can take the recording and give it to somebody.
Right. Yep.
You may have to be on Teams, you're not like downloading it on YouTube, right? So, but let me outline of a video with hyperlinks.
If you can get it in one format, you can usually translate it to a different format.
Again, I was trying to find like, trying to find like, that's why, like, I didn't want any third-party apps other than
Right.
the thing that I had to, that I already have a subscription to,
Right.
which, like, the AI feature that I did was, I have like 2 freebies, and then eventually that's like an upgrade,
Yep.
but it's a one-time upgrade fee. Okay. Anyways, they're all there, and then it creates its own title. Like this title, Understanding the
Brief as
Coast
I
Guard
can.
Designation.
I want to talk about potential Coast Guard designated city.
It created its own title. And you can go in though and edit it to change it to something else. Like, how did they vote on Airbnbs or short-term rentals, something like that. Yeah. Anyways, that was that.
And then, going back to our previous conversation, if someone is interested in a particular topic, being able to come to our website and search for content that is related to that topic. You just mentioned short-term rentals. City Council has talked about that over the last 6 years at various times. You know, but someone may want to come in and it's like, okay, what has City Council talked about?
Yeah.
And be able to search based on having pulled out some of this information and then being able to drive in and it's like, okay, I don't really care about things that are from 5 years ago. What has happened in the last 6 months type thing. And it just, again, it's how people interact with all of this information and thinking through that.
So these minutes aren't searchable now, right? You just have to go pull up each PDF and like read it,
Yep,
or know the date that it was presented on.
right. Now, I suspect just Google search, if you
Yeah.
knew what you were searching, it has indexed that content and probably could pull up some of that stuff. But, I mean, that's what search engines do.
Mm-hmm. That's not a good one, because calendar is, yeah. Okay. That's probably you right there.
Probably is, yes.
Yeah, so I found it on YouTube,
Yep.
because YouTube probably has the text.
Yes, they do.
Yeah,
Because YouTube will extract out from all videos basically
okay. Yep, look at that. Man,
It's good video work.
So you're saying it
nice job.
extracts
You got that one right?
the speech
yes,
or the closed caption?
yes, it basically creates a closed caption file.
Right.
So you can watch a video with the sound turned off and still
Whoa.
read it.
Show
Closed
transcript.
captions.
Look at that, 37 views. What?
But yeah, the transcript, that's basically everything we said that night.
Okay.
Just to start with the basics.
Barry, I think you're wearing the same shirt.
It's possible.
I'm wearing gray. That must be my color. All right, so from this, like, you'll go to the meeting and you'll have the meeting with the tourism authority, and then do you want to look at, with the idea of elegantly simple?
I guess what I would suggest is let's pick a date for our next work session between this meeting and next meeting. I will use that date as I need to get with Tourism Authority between now and that date, so I can come into that meeting with that input. And we can then, at that work session, build on what we've essentially discussed tonight and have had more time to think about.
But what am I doing in the interim?
What I think it's pursuing what you just started with these videos, and how can you make, based on what we talked about, how can you solve the problem of people wanting to search for content that are buried in these long videos? How do you make that approachable?
Okay.
I would be interested in doing a little bit more diving on the software, if you guys haven't figured out which one to use.
Feel free.
And if cost isn't,
Multiple eyes, you know, this isn't a, everyone's got their little fiefdom, it's like all eyes help.
uh-huh,
Like honestly, like, you know, when you right click on a website's calendar, not like something that's proprietary like this one, but like this, right? You can go and steal all the code
uh-huh,
or use the code
yeah,
as an example. But finding like one that's like finding the element of like, oh, I like that thing, right? I like this part of the search, whatever it is.
Right.
And then just like identifying that like cell for like, that is the search example, or that is, I think would be good, based on like user interface, right? So pulling parts and pieces and say like this search, and putting together a cookie cutter of like the perfect example that you would think would be is visually appealing and, you know, easy to navigate for people of all ages.
right,
Like the idea of like color coding or the tags, right? Like kids, animals,
mhm.
outdoors, survival, whatever it is.
Introverts,
Fishing.
extroverts.
Introvert, yeah. Painting.
Mm-hmm,
Like, and just grab those examples and then like, I mean, not at this stage yet, but just like mock up like what an interface would look like, I think would be helpful.
And another aspect of this that we haven't discussed tonight, and I don't really think we even talked about it much last week, but it's something that you and I have talked about in the past, and that is what I'll call notifications. It's instead of just having what we have exist and hope that people stumble across it, because something we've all got so many things in our lives that we're not gonna like sit down 5 times a day and what's new on the PEG website. There needs to be some way to, whether you call notification, whether you call it subscribe, whatever that mechanism is, that you go there once and you say, these are the things I'm interested in.
Right.
let me know.
Now let me know when they pop up, because otherwise I'll find out 2 weeks after it happened because I didn't think to go look.
Right,
So it's,
Yeah.
and again, that ties into tagging and categorization, and but I think there is that subscription notification model that, you know, whether you're interested in city council meetings and you get, you know, a ping the day of the meeting with a, you know, potentially a link to the agenda, but it's proactive as opposed to reactive. I think that will drive a lot more adoption and use than just, it's there, please stumble across it. So I think we need to think about
Right.
how that piece fits in as well.
Not putting the cart before the horse, but also the marketing part of it and getting organizations to adopt it and the public to go to it, right? So I like the hardware store on North 31 or South, right? Like they have their bulletin board. There's a lot of stuff on there, right?
Yep.
But like, want to know what's going on? QR code, you know.
Right.
And there's lots of people who don't know what a QR code is, which is fine. So how do you, like, 2 ways to communicate, you know? But like getting people to go to it and then getting people to want to post to it.
I think it's also establishing a sense of ownership. Like if, you know, a business is putting on an event, getting them involved in the creation, and then they're proud of it, and then, you know, start to give it to their customers and friends.
Yeah. I didn't know you guys had karaoke.
Right.
go here.
I mean, we can also put things on Facebook, you know, our URL, keep on
Yeah.
pushing that through Facebook. It is widely used, but
Tired of searching random Facebook groups to find out what's going on in Manistee?
yeah. I mean, integrating the thing that we're trying to get rid of.
But that's where people live parts of their lives.
Sure.
All right, so,
One more thing I'll just mention, since it just popped into my head, is currently we are ManisteeTV.com. In past discussions, many years ago now, the idea was that maybe what we want to be is Manistee.info. Because Onekama's kind of community website is called onekama.info, so we kind of copy that. We have that domain available. I basically squatted on it for a few years now, so I think that is more generic and more broad for what we're trying to accomplish, as opposed to having the word TV in it. But if you have other ideas,
no, that's good.
now is the time to think about those, so we can, you know, grab any domain that we think might be relevant for what we're trying to ultimately do here.
What was this one? Oh, tourism.
Yes.
Oh, it just links to, changes the URL once you go in, okay.
They actually squat on a lot of sometimes even misspellings of things, just so that someone else doesn't come in and.
Yeah. Okay.
And we're only listing events in the city?
I think it's anything within the county.
We had talked about that, like, in the idea of like, you know, because Mason County is only
Right.
3 miles away, right?
Right.
So like, I like to approach it from the river basin idea, right? Like what drains into the Manistee River, drains into the calendar.
Sure.
And that's a bigger, I mean, that goes out into,
So yeah, I mean, I think it's a regional
yeah,
thing, not just city limits,
Michigan?
but how far you want to go. I think the farther you go, the more you dilute
Mhm.
what you have, because you just get so much, and who you're targeting then becomes broader. Then the question becomes, will someone drive X miles to that? So I think it needs to be small enough, but at the same time, it doesn't need to follow any sort of specific boundary.
Okay. I was just thinking if Onekama already has a .info and we have a Manistee.info, I think creating, I guess it doesn't matter that much, but, you know,
Right. I mean, the thing about.
Manistee area.
Right,
info.
right. But the counter then is, the longer it is, the more you need to remember to type, so
Yeah.
shorter is better.
I mean, you could put a geographical, like 25, 20 miles, 25 gets you into Ludington, you know?
But I think the difference with onekama.info is Onekama is a village and a township, both that have that same name, but that's a relatively compact designation. Manistee represents a city, a township, a county, a river.
Yeah,
a national.
National forests. I mean, it doesn't necessarily mean a specific thing, because it is attached to all of these things in our region.
no, I like it.
I do think that somebody coming from outside might have confusion around that. You know, they're looking for things in the city of Manistee, they don't want to drive very far.
That's when functionality like that map
Yeah.
is important.
I agree.
Or being able to specify filtering down to things within a couple miles of me or things within the city.
I think the Manistee headwaters is like up here.
Yeah, it's way up.
Yeah, it's like a 200-mile long
Yeah.
Yeah.
river. Okay,
Okay.
so.
Well, as far as the meetings go, if we were to schedule another meeting, do all three of us need to be here?
I would like it if we at all can
Mhm.
to have these discussions with all of us present,
Okay.
because I think you miss out then on whatever that was, and it's hard to get it back.
I'm back the week of the 24th. And then around, because our next meeting's the 7th, I think, right? The 7th? Yes. Okay.
Yep.
I do have something that might be happening that's fairly large, but I haven't committed to the dates yet. I can see if I can do that after the 7th, and I'll try. I might not be able to.
So I am out from the 21st through the 3rd.
So it would, and our next meeting's the 7th, so it'd have to be the week,
So realistically,
the next meeting's the 7th.
so
Yeah.
I'm basically getting back a few days before that.
Yeah,
So I would say if we should target within the next 2 weeks between now and the,
I'm leaving next Monday,
you're leaving next Monday.
yeah.
Okay, so then I don't think we're having
No,
an extra meeting
Right.
between now and the next
Yeah.
meeting.
yeah.
Which is, that's fine, I mean.
Yeah, I leave Monday and come back the 21st. You're leaving the 21st.
21st
Yeah.
for the next 13 days, so. And again, that's fine, I mean,
And I think I've work travel the 1st and 2nd of April.
but maybe we should now try to pick a date
In April?
in April. We have the 7th already,
Yeah, I'm good, like, I'll be around.
I will be too.
So we could call it like this week, the 14th through this week? Is that,
Well, I mean, could we potentially do the 21st? 'Cause that is two, I mean, with the next monthly meeting being the 5th, that is the exact midpoint between those two monthly meetings would be Monday, the 21st.
it's fine with me. I'll be here.
Thoughts? You're trying to plan things that you don't know yet when they're gonna fall.
I'm buying a ticket tomorrow, and I need to figure out.
Just, I mean, if you just let us know on an email, just around that time frame.
Okay,
Yeah. But like the 7th, we can obviously come with what we're talking about today.
Correct.
And then like from that meeting, then like putting stuff in place.
Yep.
Okay.
okay. I very rarely leave town,
Yeah. No, that's
but I
good.
might have to, so I might be
Yep.
messing everybody up here.
That's fine.
That's all right.
I get them. We all have lives, so.
Yeah.
You guys leave town a lot more often than I do, so I get a allowance here.
All right. So just to recap,
Yep.
I am going to look at sortable, searchable video and text of minutes and easy ways to do that. Alyssa, you're looking at building a
Possible software.
perfect prototype of like grabbing elements from different calendars and putting it,
Mm-hmm.
mocking it up. And then you're having a meeting,
With the tourism authority,
And
on
looking
kind of
about
their functionality.
partnerships and
Yep.
things. Okay,
Okay.
sounds good.
So that is the end of our agenda. We have already discussed our next scheduled meeting is Monday, April 7th at 6 o'clock here. We will not have a work session between now and then. And I think with that, I'd entertain a motion to adjourn.
I motion to adjourn?
Okay. Well, if there's support,
I support.
Alyssa supports. We have a motion of support to adjourn. All in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. Meeting adjourned.